Hypergamy is the female instinct to secure a high-status male as her mate. Do you believe women have this instinct?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Cool. Why do you think that?
Security.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
So when you say like security, what exactly does that mean though? Because like nowadays, it's like
People associate status with money and then like financial security.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it more like a financial thing, like nowadays?
I think so, yeah.
I think so.
I'm not saying I would look specifically for a bloke with money, but it helps, I think.
Yeah.
Just quickly, for anyone in Western Australia, I'm organising a boys trip to Margaret River, so email me if you want to take part. In this video, I'm going to explain one of the biggest reasons why men are struggling to get girlfriends. I'm going to talk about hypergamy, which is the female instinct to partner up with the men who are at the top of the ladder, the highest status men. But more specifically, I'm going to talk about how the Western culture enables and exacerbates this hypergamy. I'm going to explain how society has developed to the point where women have almost unrealistically high standards for what they want in a partner, to the point where it's almost a miracle that anybody gets married at all. Let's start off by looking at this graph. What you're looking at here are the percentage of people who are single for each age demographic over about a 20-year span. As you can see, most of the age demographics stay about the same rate, except for one. That's young people between ages 18 and 34. Back in the 80s, only 35% of young people were single. Now, it's over 50% and it continues to rise. Why is this? Why are there more single people now than ever before? Surely with our highly social modern lifestyle, with people going out to restaurants and parties, it should be easier than ever to meet new people. Not to mention all of the dating websites and apps like Tinder. It's surprising that there are more single people than ever before because surely it's never been easier to meet someone. But the more you look into this, the more you begin to realize that it's not lack of opportunity that's preventing people from getting into relationships. It's something a lot deeper and a lot more difficult to cure. According to a 2017 report from the Pew Research Center, among those who have never married but are open to it, most say a major reason is that they haven't yet found the right person. That doesn't make sense. Women are meeting more men now than ever. They're swimming in options. They certainly meet a lot more men than the women did back in the 80s. As a woman, there would be hundreds of men at a moment's notice on Tinder who would be extremely eager to go on a date with you. And so, how is it possible to say that you haven't yet met the right person? But you see, as options and opportunities increase, so too do standards and expectations. Women want only the best, and in our current culture, that is the perfect recipe for perpetual singledom. Let's zoom out for a second and explain how hypergamy was supposed to function. In order to really understand humans and their instincts, you need to study the environment that humans were living in when the majority of their evolution was taking place. We might live in cities now, but the overwhelming majority of human history took place in small hunter-gatherer tribes. These small communities of perhaps just a couple of hundred people were the environment that hypergamy was supposed to function in. Think of it like this. You're a young woman in a tribe of about 200 people, and around 30 of them are the same age as you, so half of them being men. That leaves you with about 15 potential mates. Now, after you come of age, you begin to desire to have children. This is the instinct to procreate that your genes have positively selected for so that they can get passed on to the next generation. So, as a woman, when you feel that desire to have children swell up inside you, you begin to look at these 15 men in a completely different way. It's not just who's the best playmate, it's who has the best genes and could create the healthiest children? Who amongst all of these young men would make the best father and the best protector and provider? At an instinctual level, you recognize which individual that is, and you feel massively drawn towards him. Call it love, call it lust, doesn't really matter. You're feeling the feelings that your genes want you to feel because they increase your likelihood of mating with this man. Unfortunately, that 10 out of 10 man that you were so attracted to has just paired off with the prettiest girl in the tribe, and they're now a couple. Suddenly, all of the really handsome, high-value men are snapping up all the young, pretty girls in the tribe, and they're pairing off as couples. And, lo and behold, you find yourself as the prettiest available girl in the tribe. And so you do what's natural. You pair off with the highest value male that's still available. Obviously, I'm oversimplifying, but I'm using this simple example to make a point, which is that hypergamy is a positive instinct in that it guides you towards the highest value man. But it had an important limitation, which was environmental. Of course you want to be with the highest value man, but you can't because he's no longer an option. He's already been taken. The man that you ultimately end up with might not have been your first choice, but your genes really wanted to propagate, and so you settled down with him. Over time, you get to know his quirks, his personality, all the little traits that make him who he is, and you fall in love and can be very, very happy. You love your children, you love your husband, and life is good. There's nothing wrong with this system because hypergamy has a natural limit in that you can only select from the men who are immediately available. Any woman back in ancient times who was driven exclusively by hypergamy would not have mated and therefore wouldn't have been able to pass on her genes. She would have sat there sulking, going, I'm not going to mate with anybody because I didn't get my number one choice. She has no children and therefore her genes don't get passed on. The genes that do propagate, the ones that evolution positively selects for, are the ones that balance hypergamy with pragmatism. I will follow my hypergamy until the time comes that I need to make a practical choice. So what's changed here? Are women suddenly driven by completely different instincts? Is that why so many people are now single? Are women driven by pure hypergamy with no thought to pragmatism at all? No, it's not women's instincts that have changed. Evolution does not work that quickly. It's our environment that has changed. Decades ago, back in the day, women would feel that instinct for pragmatism rise up inside them whenever they saw the local men in their community start to pair off. When they saw their friends become couples or get married, they had that thought, I can't stay single forever. If I wait too long, then there won't be any good men available. So even if I can't have my number one choice, I just need to settle down with somebody. But nowadays, we don't have that sense of community. And every single year that goes by, the sense of tribe to which we all feel like we belong grows larger and larger. When women think about the pool of men that they have to choose from, who's available, they don't think about their local community or their local suburb. They think much bigger than that. They think about the city, the country, the world, and it seems as though there's this limitless supply of men to choose from. Sure, that guy seemed sweet and he was kind and caring, and I'm sure he'd make a good father, but I'm only 30 years old, and look how many men there are out there. My instinct of hypergamy tells me that I need to find the best, and so why should I settle when there's still so many options available? Every day in the media, women are bombarded with images of hot, attractive, available men. Social media has made this even worse because it encourages parasocial relationships where women feel as though they have a deep, genuine connection with the man speaking into the camera. Now, if you ask a woman directly, she'll probably be able to recognize that these men are not legitimate options. But at an unconscious level, the story is very different. She feels as though she knows these men. She feels as though they're part of her tribe. Her brain was not designed to really understand what a city is. In all of our hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, we never encountered anything like this before. Now, add on to that the fact that she's receiving thousands of messages on Tinder every single week from guys desperate to go out with her. She feels as though she's this highly desirable woman. And yet, with every single year that goes by where she deems that the men who want to settle down with her do not meet her standards, she herself becomes less desirable as she moves further and further from that age of peak fertility that men find so attractive. It's a perfect storm, and the result is entirely predictable. In the last 20 or so years, we have seen a 50% increase in the rate of singledom for young people. That sucks, and I want to change that. Life is hard. There's lots of suffering, lots of challenges, and I personally don't know how to fix things like disease or natural disasters. But I do know that life's hardest times are made so much easier when you're sharing it with somebody who you love, somebody who trusts you, somebody who cares about you. I also know that the good times are a lot more meaningful when you're sharing them with somebody who you love. All of your triumphs and celebrations are a communal experience, somebody who you can bond with over that shared celebration. I don't like suffering, and that's why I want to encourage people to get into healthy and functional relationships. But our instincts and the social environment that we evolved to navigate is not the world that we live in. We need to be aware of this, and we need to be able to restrict and restrain our instincts when necessary. I know that eating junk food and taking drugs might feel amazing, but that doesn't mean that you should do it. In fact, it's highly damaging. The same goes for unrestrained hypergamy. It will lead to a disaster. And so, for any young women who are out there watching, who are feeling as though there is this limitless pool of men to choose from, an endless supply, and that you're highly desirable because of how many men are constantly hitting on you. If you're feeling no practical urgency, no need to settle down, and you can just continue to follow your instinct of hypergamy, you want to keep holding out for something that is absolutely perfect, I want to tell you a fair warning, you need to be extremely careful. After a certain age, every single year that you get older, you become less attractive to men. Use the youth and the beauty that you do have to make a sensible life choice. Find a kind, decent man who will treat you well, who'll be a good father to your children, and start a good life together. You do not want to end up old, alone, and single. Despite what propaganda you may have heard from third-wave feminism, there's nothing empowering about being a woman out there on your own. I'm telling you what nobody else is going to tell you. Being alone and single is miserable. Life is best shared with a kind, respectful, high-quality, masculine man. A man who you love and who loves you in return. Find that man and don't let him go. Because of our social environment, because of the cities that we live in, it may not feel as though there is a practical urgency to your choice, but I'm telling you, there is.